Hey friends, it's Mrs. Walker. For our lesson today, we're going to continue working with array models, and we're going to focus mostly on drawing our own arrays without just building them with square tiles. Okay, so our learning goal for today says I can use math drawings to compose a rectangle with square tiles. Now, it says with square tiles because we're actually going to start off with using one square tile to help us to be able to draw several square tiles that go along in our array. So the materials that you'll need for this lesson are your dry erase board, you'll need a plain white paper, and you'll need 6 square tiles. Okay, so make sure you grab those before we get started. All right, friends, so we're going to make an array with 2 rows of 3 on your paper using the square tiles. Okay, so pause video. With your square tiles, you're going to build 2 rows of 3. And then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. All right, so here's the array that I came up with my tiles. I have 2 rows with 3 in each row. All right, so to draw the same array, we can trace the tile 3 times to make a row, and then trace another row underneath. All right, so let's remove the tiles from your paper. Using one tile, make a square in the very top left corner of your paper. So here's your paper. You're going to take a tile and put it all the way in the very top left-hand corner. Okay. We can use the edge of the paper as one of our lines to help keep the array straight. So we're not going to have to draw an array, a line on the very top or on the left-hand side because our paper is going to represent the line for us. So here we can draw. All right, so now we have our 2 sides. What should we do next to create 2 rows of 3? Well, we can make another square in the top row or make another square underneath the first row or the first one to start the second row. So we could do it either way. So let's just finish the row by adding 2 more squares and tracing the tiles. All right, so here's one more. We're going to trace the ends. Then I'm going to add my second one, trace the sides. Okay, so now I have my 3 squares in my first row. You're going to pause the video and you're going to continue and do that same process that I just did. So your drawing has 3 tiles or 3 squares in your first row. Okay, so make sure you move your tile over, trace around it, move it again, and then trace. Okay, so pause the video, do that just like I did, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. All right, so what's our next step now? We have 1 row of 3, but we need 2 rows of 3. Yeah, so we need to add another row. We're going to trace the tile on the bottom to start the second row, because now we don't have to trace the top because it's already there for us. All right, so let's try that. So do we need to trace the entire square? Nope. The bottom line from the first square will be the top of the next square. All right, so here we have our next square. Trace the side and the bottom, and then move to the next one, just like we did in the previous one. Now notice, friends, my squares are not perfect, and that's okay. Your drawing is not going to be as perfect in a straight line just like your square tiles are, okay? We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So as long as it's close, just like mine looks about the same, that's all we need to worry about. Okay, so pause the video, add in your second row, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, yours should look pretty close to mine. Now we're going to do something else. So this reminds me of when we created our rulers. Remember when we had to do that, when we had to move the line down, the cube down as we were measuring on our ruler? How's that the same? Yeah, well, it's like we're repeating a unit, right? We're using a tool to help us make the spaces the same. Okay, so now we're going to create an array that's 2 units wide and 4 units long. So it's probably going to look pretty similar to this one that we have, right? Okay. All right, so we're going to draw it below the first array, but leave some space between. So you want to leave a gap underneath your array that you have already on your paper because you don't want them to scrunch together and look like we have one giant array. So line it up still on the left-hand side of your paper, but just leave a space in between. Okay, so pause the video. You're drawing a array that's 2 units wide by 4 units long. Pause the video, draw, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. Remember, use that square tile to help you, but just do one of them. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. Otherwise, here we go. Okay, notice how I'm going across, drawing the sides. And then I have to go to 4. But then I'm going to come on the top because it's going to be 2 units wide. Keep going. So remember, they have to be the same number in each row to be an array and to be equal. All right, so here's my new array. Does yours look like that? Okay, awesome. Now, for some reason, if you took your array and you actually drew your array up and down on your paper instead of side to side like I did, that's okay too. Okay, so you're modeling a similar array, you just turned it on sideways. All right, so now we're going to draw most of the array without the tile. Okay, let's see how we're going to do that. Let's start with making one square in the middle of the page. So I'm going to use my tile. I'm going to trace all the way around it. So now I have my square. I want you guys to pause the video, take one tile, put it in the middle of your paper, flip your paper over actually so you have some more space, and then you're going to draw or trace one square in the middle. So do that and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. Otherwise, here's our next step. So we're going to start with the top of the next square. We want the line to be about the same as the other line. So now I draw through there. Is the length of the line about the same length as the first one? As the first tile? Yeah, it sure is, right? Okay. So pause the video. Draw your line, just that one line, about the same length, just like I did. Okay, so pause the video, do that, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, next step, here we go. So we're going to draw the bottom too. Now, is the bottom line about the same as the top line? Yes, it sure is, right? Okay, so let's close the square by making a third line. There we go. Does the square I drew look pretty much the same as the square I traced? Yeah, I would say it's pretty close, right? Okay, so pause the video. You're going to complete your square and see if they're about the same as the first one. And click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends. All right, so how many more squares do we need in this row to make one row of 3? Yeah, we need one more square. Okay. All right, so draw one more square the same way we did the last one. So pause the video, draw one more square the same way, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. Okay, friends, here's my last square, right? Okay. All right, so we're going to add on to the array so it shows 3 rows of 3 squares. So pause the video. We have 1 row of 3 squares, but you need to make your model look like 3 rows of 3 squares. Remember, you're looking and drawing your lines about the same as the squares that you already have. So do that and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, so here's my second row of 3 and my third row of 3. So now I have 3 rows of 3. What shape does this array make? Yeah, it's a square. Now, what shape had you made after making 2 rows of 3? So before we put that last row in, what shape is that? A rectangle. Oh gosh, you guys are good. You got it. All right, so bravo, friends. You guys did a great job using math drawings to compose rectangles with square tiles. So please head back on over to the module to see what you need to complete for your independent practice. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, friends.